I used to think poverty was something you just learned to live with. Like a chronic illness. Something you manage, but never cure. I grew up watching my parents juggle bills, dodge landlords, and stretch food stamps until they practically snapped. Somewhere along the line, I convinced myself this was just going to be my life too. And for a while, it was. By 22, I was broke, jobless, and living out of my car. Not the cool, van life influencer kind of car living, but the pray nobody sees you brushing your teeth in a gas station bathroom kind. Every night, I parked in different spots so no one would notice. Every morning, I'd wake up stiff, ashamed, and hungrier than I wanted to admit. That was my rock bottom. The breaking point. It's funny how one moment can burn into your memory forever. Mine was a rainy night. I was sitting in the driver's seat, wrapped in a blanket, watching raindrops race each other down the window. I had exactly $4.37 in my bank account, a quarter tank of gas, and no clue what tomorrow would look like. I wanted to give up. Not in a dramatic sense, but in the quiet, crushing way where you start to believe nothing will ever change. And then, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from a job board, freelance data entry, remote, $20. $20. That was it. But in that moment, it felt like a rope being thrown to a drowning man. Step 1, saying yes to everything. I applied, got the gig, and spent 5 hours entering numbers into a spreadsheet from the back seat of my car. My wrists ached, my laptop was dying, and I had to use McDonald's Wi-Fi to upload the file. But when I hit submit and saw that $20 pending in my account, I cried. Not because of the money, but because it was proof I wasn't completely powerless. From that day, I said yes to every remote gig I could find, data entry, transcription, customer service, even writing product reviews for $3 a pop. It was exhausting. It was humiliating sometimes. But slowly, I built a little list of clients who trusted me. Step 2, building skills on scraps of time. Between gigs, I realized something important. If I wanted to climb out, I couldn't just keep trading time for pennies. I needed skills. So I started using free resources, YouTube, Coursera, blogs, Reddit threads. I studied digital marketing, basic coding, design. I didn't have fancy software, so I downloaded free trials and stretched them out. I didn't have a desk, so I worked in libraries, coffee shops, and sometimes with my laptop literally balanced on the steering wheel. I looked ridiculous. But I kept telling myself, every skill you learn is one brick in the staircase out of here. Step 3, tiny wins. My first big client paid me $150 to design a simple website. I had no idea what I was doing, but I pulled 3 all-nighters, watched endless tutorials, and somehow delivered something decent. When he paid me, I felt like I'd won the lottery. That $150 turned into food, gas, and a cheap motel room where I could sleep in a real bed for the first time in months. I'll never forget the feeling of laying down on those scratchy sheets and thinking, this is what progress feels like. Step 4, failing forward. Of course, not every story was a win. I messed up plenty. I lost clients because I overpromised. I once missed a deadline because my laptop battery died in the middle of nowhere. Another time, I got scammed by someone who promised huge projects if I did the first one for free. Each failure stung. But instead of quitting, I treated them like tuition, the cost of learning. And slowly, the wins started to outnumber the losses. Step 5, the shift. After about a year of hustling, I finally landed a stable gig doing social media management for a mid-sized company. The pay wasn't glamorous, but it was consistent. For the first time in years, I could plan ahead. I saved up, got out of my car, and into a tiny studio apartment. 4 walls, a leaky sink, and neighbors who argued at 2 a.m., but to me, it was a palace. That stability gave me breathing room. And with that room, I started dreaming again. Step 6. Building something of my own. Working for that company taught me something. Business owners didn't just want workers, they wanted solutions. They wanted someone who could solve problems, not just follow instructions. That's when the idea clicked. What if I started my own small agency? So I did. Slowly. Carefully. At first, it was just me, taking on extra clients. Then I hired a friend to help with graphics. Then another for copywriting. Before I knew it, what started as $20 data entry jobs in my car had turned into a small but real business. The human side. But here's the part most people don't talk about: even as money came in, the scars of poverty didn't vanish. I hoarded food because I was terrified of running out. I felt guilty spending money on anything extra. I once cried in a grocery store because I realized I could finally afford name-brand cereal. Poverty doesn't just live in your wallet. It lives in your head. And learning to heal that part took longer than earning money. Full circle. A few months ago, I drove past the parking lot where I used to sleep in my car. I pulled over, sat there for a while, and just breathed. It hit me how far I'd come. From counting coins at gas stations to running a business with clients across the country. And in that moment, I promised myself 2 things. Never forget where I came from. Always reach back to pull someone else up. Since then, I've mentored people just starting out. Sometimes I give them paid gigs even if I don't need the help, because I know what $20 can mean when you're at rock bottom. What I learned. Poverty teaches you survival. But survival isn't living. To live, you have to risk, learn, and fail forward. Nobody cares more about your future than you. Waiting for rescue is a trap. Skills are the true currency. Money comes and goes, but skills build freedom. Escaping poverty doesn't happen in a straight line. It's messy, humiliating, and slow, but every tiny win matters. Today. I'm not rich. I don't live in a mansion or drive a luxury car. But I don't sleep in my car anymore. I don't panic when the rent is due. I don't flinch when someone suggests eating out. To me, that's wealth. Not the number in my bank account, but the freedom to wake up without fear. And if you're in the place I used to be, I want you to know, it's possible. Not easy, not quick, but possible. And one day, you'll look back at the version of yourself struggling to survive, and you'll realize that was the person who built the foundation for your freedom. So keep going. Even if it's just $20 gigs from a gas station parking lot. Keep going. The relapse of doubt. I wish I could tell you that once I got that first apartment, everything magically got better. It didn't. The truth is, the first year off the streets was almost harder in a different way. When you're living in your car, survival is the only goal. Food. Gas. Somewhere to park without getting the cops called on you. But when you finally get a roof over your head, the silence hits. Suddenly, you're sitting in a room with 4 walls, staring at them, and realizing, now what? There were nights I sat in that tiny studio, surrounded by unpacked boxes, feeling like a fraud. Yes, I wasn't homeless anymore. But I wasn't successful either. I had no savings. I had no safety net. And worst of all, I had this constant fear gnawing at me: what if I lose it all again? The fear of falling back. That fear controlled me for a long time. I triple-checked my rent payments. I skipped meals just to save money, even when I didn't need to. I turned down fun, friendships, even relationships because I thought, don't get too comfortable. Don't get too attached. It could all vanish tomorrow. I remember once, after a decent month freelancing, I walked into a store and saw a jacket I really liked. Nothing crazy, just a nice winter coat. It was $60. I stood there for almost an hour, paralyzed. My brain was screaming, what if next month you don't get paid? What if you need that money for food? What if you lose your clients? I walked out without buying it. And on the way home, I broke down crying in the car. Not because of the jacket, but because I realized poverty had trained me to be terrified of living. The turning point inside my head. One night, I had a call with one of my clients. He was a business owner, and during our chat, he casually mentioned he had lost thousands of dollars on a failed marketing campaign. I braced myself, expecting anger. Instead, he laughed. I asked him how he could laugh about losing that much money. And he said something that stuck with me forever. Because I know I'll make it back. Money isn't permanent. Skills are. As long as I have the skills, I'll always recover. That sentence hit me like a lightning bolt. I realized I had been living with a survival mindset, clutching every dollar like it was oxygen. But this guy wasn't scared because he trusted himself, not his bank account. That night, I decided I had to rebuild not just my finances, but my mindset. Investing for the first time. The scariest step I ever took was investing in myself. I bought my first paid online course, $99. For me, it might as well have been $10,000. My hands were literally shaking as I clicked purchase. But that course taught me advanced digital marketing skills that doubled my income within 6 months. More importantly, it taught me that money spent on growth wasn't wasted, it was planting seeds. From then on, I made it a rule, at least 10% of everything I earned went into growth. Books. Courses. Software. Even just networking events where I could meet people doing better than me. That one habit changed my entire trajectory. Helping my younger self through others. Years later, once my agency was running smoothly, I started volunteering at a local shelter. I wasn't there to preach or brag. I just wanted to sit with people who were where I had been, cold, tired, and hopeless. One night, I shared my story with a young guy who had just lost his job and was living out of his truck. His eyes lit up when I told him about freelancing. He didn't believe me at first, but I helped him set up his first gig. Months later, he messaged me saying he had moved into a shared apartment. That message, it broke me. In the best way. Because I realized the purpose of climbing out wasn't just for me, it was to throw a rope back down for others. Looking back now. Sometimes I still drive past the parking lots I used to sleep in. I'll sit there for a minute, watch the cars come and go, and whisper a quiet, thank you, to that younger version of myself. The one who stayed up all night typing Penguin articles, who worked in freezing cars on McDonald's Wi-Fi, who didn't give up even when everything screamed that it was hopeless. That kid didn't know it at the time, but he was laying the bricks for the life I live today. What I'd tell anyone stuck right now. If you're listening to this, stuck in a cycle of poverty, thinking there's no way out, I want you to know, the staircase isn't visible when you're at the bottom. You have to build it as you climb. One skill, one gig, $1 at a time. And it won't feel glamorous. It will feel humiliating. You will cry. You will doubt yourself. You will lose people along the way. But keep climbing anyway. Because 5 years from now, you could be sitting where I am. Looking back, barely recognizing the person you used to be. And that moment, when you realize you're free? It's worth every sleepless night.